No, no. Wait, Caleb, what? You have the going all the way?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast. It's a very sad episode because the regular season is now over. That's
But
so
we got
sad.
playoffs.
But we got playoffs, and you know
Let's
what that means?
go.
Our brackets are coming out. This is the best episode by far of any of our episodes. It's like March Madness for the NFL. It's so fun. I'm pretty excited about it because I got to see everybody's bracket. I had to do a brackets graphic for you guys to show, and everyone sent me their brackets individually. They all don't know what I've picked, or like John doesn't know what they picked, Caleb doesn't know, Jonathan knows, but I know everything. And it is going to be a very interesting episode. Let me tell you, there are a lot of upsets. There are some upsets on upsets on upsets that go all the way to the Super Bowl. And only two people have the same Super Bowl winner. So,
Ooh.
yeah, you're going to have to stay tuned for that. But we are going to do a little bit of housekeeping. And if you are listening on Spotify now implemented a rating system. So if you go on to Spotify and you type in Dorm Debate Podcast, you click our podcast, there'll be a little thing that says rate. It'll be like 5 stars or whatever. And you can click that and you can rate us. So if you wouldn't mind, please rating us 5 stars. It helps a lot with the algorithm. And also, if you're on Apple Podcast, rate us 5 stars and leave a really nice comment. And I'll honestly, if you leave a good comment, I'll shout you out on the podcast. So yeah, there you go. Look at that. Caleb's
Showing
doing
on the
5
video,
stars.
yeah. You gave him 5 stars, yeah.
So we should have 4 5-star reviews by now on Spotify.
At least we hope.
Unless somebody that hates being
Unless someone
on
here doesn't think
Somebody
we're
here
5
hates-
stars.
Somebody hates us.
One 4-star one.
If anybody has Cowboys losing first round, Jonathan's leaving a bad review. Some other news. The online sports betting world has now been opened up for New York. So for me
Let's go.
and John, we can now lose all our money in online betting.
How exciting.
Exactly. That's all it means.
It's so fun, just that added stress. Now that fantasy's over, I'm missing the stress and anxiety of watching football. And now it's back, and I can just start betting on stuff now. So not only will I be wrong, but I will be wrong and poor. So that's nice. The national championship
Wow.
thing to add on: Georgia beat Alabama. Finally. Jonathan, any words on Georgia? Did you watch the game? I know you're the only college fan here.
Yeah, I watched the game. It was an excellent game. Well played by Georgia. I mean, they got destroyed in the SEC championship, but
Yeah.
yesterday they came to play. That just shows great coaching adjustments by Curry Smart and the coaching staff. You have to give them credit. They deserve that.
Yep. And he's one of 2 assistants to beat Saban. Jimbo
yeah.
Fisher did it this year with
Yeah.
Texas A&M. I think that Georgia defense is going to be like the LSU offense of like the NFL, where Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. That Georgia defense is filled with NFL talent. They are massive. They are huge. So I think that defense, I think every single one will probably be in the NFL.
Yeah, and they played great. But I like to give a special shout out to Stetson Bennett.
What a guy.
Underdog, right? He was a 2-star recruit. He came in to beat a 5-star recruit from a top high school in the nation, in Bryce Young. So, he was crying after the game. He was emotional because, who would have thought a 2-star recruit would lead a team to a national championship? That's crazy. But I'm proud of him.
Good for the underdogs. And lastly, to end off on a really, really high note, John's Giants have fired Joe Judge a mere hour ago. They let him go, and they said that they let go of the GM. The GM retired, so they said they're going to hire a new GM, and then they're going to let that GM decide the coaching search. So, John, how excited are you to not see Joe Judge in this terrible offense ever again?
I mean, I'm pretty excited. I never want to see us going for it on 3rd and 9 from our own 5-yard line, lining up in QB sneak with literally, it looked like he was about to kneel the ball for a second because that's the formation they were in. So it was just an embarrassment. And I know maybe Judge was like, oh, okay, let's tank and get like a good draft pick or something. But I never like that. I'm always an advocate for playing the season out and trying to win games, because once you do what the Giants did, you could just see how it ends up. Nobody wants to be there. Nobody wants to be a part of that team and a losing culture. Winning games creates winners, and then the more you win, the more a winner you'll be, and the more games you'll win in the future. Even if you have a worse of a draft pick, it's not going to make that much of a difference. It's more about team morale and overcoming obstacles and winning as a team. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, Brian Flores out as the Dolphins head coach. Maybe he can be somebody we can hire, but it's going to really come down to that GM. We need to make the best decision there to get the best players on our team, especially because the GM is going to have to pick the head coach for the next few years. And the GM is probably going to have to draft two of our draft picks in the first round or in the top 15 picks. So that's big right there. I think one of them's in the top 5, one of them's close to the top 10, but a lot of big decisions for the Giants, and can only really go up from here, hopefully.
Literally only up. I think in every offensive category, I just saw on Instagram they're last place.
Yeah.
So you can't do worse. Like it's
Literally can only please only go up.
like staying the same would still be better.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, so that is it for the housekeeping, and now we're on to the main event, the playoff brackets. We're going to start off with Jonathan's bracket. All right.
Oh, I knew it.
So, Jonathan,
Interesting.
take the floor, explain all the picks, and then we'll comment on it after the fact.
You guys may think this was out of bias, but this was completely from my football
Analytical.
knowledge.
It was all analytical, right?
It was all analytical, a little bit of the stats, a little bit of knowledge about football and how the game works and how the playoffs are different. So look, let's start from the AFC. So you have Chiefs versus the Steelers. Look, I respect Ben. He's done a lot in his career, but the Chiefs are gonna walk away with that one easily. Because the Chargers or Raiders, the Chargers could have also taken that spot, right? But the Steelers got lucky and got in. So I think the Chiefs will win that one. Bills versus Patriots. This may surprise a lot of people, but the Patriots are going to win. They're going to beat the Bills. The Bills.
Why though?
I like how you said you're going to give them respect that they deserve, and you don't have them winning.
That's the respect they deserve. It may be a close
and then
game.
you said Steelers.
Yeah, it may be a close game, but look, the Bills have beat the Patriots once. Patriots have beat the Bills once this year. But in this type of situation where they play again third time in a season, it's all about coaching. Bill Belichick is probably the greatest NFL coach ever. He's going to know what to do to stop Josh Allen. He knows his weakness at this point. He knows the way to stop the Bills offense at this point. I don't know what strategy is going to do. I mean, obviously Diggs is their top playmaker. Maybe put a couple receivers or a couple of cornerbacks on him rather. And see what happens. But believe me, Bill Belichick has a plan. And if I was a Bills fan, I'd be really scared. I think they're playing in Buffalo, but still, I'll be scared. Bill Belichick is coming with a plan. Patriots going to win. And so the third AFC wild card, I would say Bengals versus Raiders. Raiders have impressed me this season. I think John predicted that the Raiders would make the playoffs earlier. I doubted him, but I should know. Sean gets right, most things right in life. And so, look, the Raiders made it. Congrats. But the Bengals are a talented team. I'm picking Joe Burrow and the touted offense to beat the Raiders in the first round and move on to play the Chiefs. So the second round in AFC, Chiefs versus the Bengals. This is going to be a really good game. Okay. This is going to be a really great game. And they played each other before. Okay. And it was a great game. It was fun to watch. But this time I'm picking the Chiefs to win. Patrick Mahomes is not going to lose twice to Joe Burrow. It's going to be embarrassing if he does. He knows his legacy is going to be on the line. If he loses to Joe Burrow a second time in a season, people are going to give him crap saying, oh, Joe Burrow is the next, prodigy, Patrick Mahomes, you're not on the same level as Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, etc. If Patrick Mahomes wants to keep that elite status, he has to show that he's, the true MVP and beat Joe Burrow. He has to show that he's on caliber to be like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and the greats. this is when you kind of determine who the great quarterbacks are by how they perform in the playoffs. And Patrick Mahomes has to answer. So I'm picking Patrick Mahomes to beat the Bengals. The Bengals are inexperienced in the playoffs. That's a major factor. They are talented. It's probably going to be a close game, but I'm still picking the Chiefs to win. And then the other matchup, Titans versus the Patriots. Coaching can only take you so far. You have to have some playmakers. Patriots, I don't think they don't have much playmakers, honestly. Mac Jones, he's going to play decent. I don't think he's going to make too much mistakes. But at the end of the day, the Titans, I think they just have more talent. Their head coach is pretty good too. Vrabel, like Mike Vrabel or something. He's pretty good defensive mind as well. And they also have the talent on offense to get them going. Derrick Henry may be back. I don't know if you've seen the clips, but he was looking pretty good at practice last week, but he didn't play in the final week because I guess they're trying to save him up. But he's coming back. And so that's something to watch out for. And so given that, and also the defense, I think the Titans overall team is going to be unbearable for the Patriots, and they're going to end up winning that and heading into the AFC Championship. So it's going to be Titans versus the Chiefs on that side. So here, let me leave it there and then go to the NFC. So Bucks versus Eagles. Like, no offense, Caleb. Like, Eagles they've done good. They've done good this season. Okay, they've done good, but I think this is going to be an easy win for the Bucks. They wanted this. I think y'all saw the film on TikTok. There's a lot of clips of them looking at the final game. I think they're looking at the 49ers versus Rams. They wanted the number 2 seed. They wanted the Eagles. They're all hoping to play the Eagles, and they got their wish because the Eagles, they've lost 8 games this season. That's too much to be in the playoffs. I mean, they're in the playoffs, but that's a lot of games. There's a lot to pick from on that. The Bucks are going to destroy them, I think. No offense, Caleb. They've done good. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of Jalen Hurts. They've done a lot of great things. I like him, but the Bucks are coming to that game with a mission. They're going to win that easily. And let's go to the next game. So Cowboys and 49ers. Now this should be a pretty good game as well. I hate to say it as a Cowboys fan, this should be a pretty good game. It may be pretty close actually, because 49ers have great talent. Okay. Deebo Samuel, Garoppolo, he's not, he's not bad. A lot of people were giving him crap a couple of years ago and maybe last year that he wasn't that great of a quarterback. I think he's pretty good. He was under Tom Brady for a while. He's not a bad quarterback at all. So you have him, you have Kittle, you have all these weapons on offense. The defense is decent, but I think the Cowboys are going to end up getting the job done because Cowboys are just more talented. Cowboys have, just lost 5 this year, but 49ers, I think they lost 7. So I think there's more to pick from on the 49ers side. There's more weaknesses to inspect in the game film. And I think that the Cowboys pass rush is going to play a major factor. Garoppolo is not 100%. His thumb is still a little shaky. So who knows? He's probably going to be a little bit nervous, right? Micah Parsons is definitely going to have a sack, I think. But also the Cowboys offense. We're without Gallup, but I don't think that matters. We have Cedric Wilson, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. The offense is crazy on Cowboys. They're pretty good. I think they're number 1 in yards per game, number 1 in points for in the NFL. So we're probably the best offense in the NFL. And I think our defense is okay, but with Diggs and Micah Parsons missing the last game and coming back, they're a little bit fresh. I think we should be able to lock the 49ers down pretty good. But again, this game could be wild. Deebo Samuel, he's really talented. That's going to be a close game. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say they're going to blow them out. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to be nervous, but I think the Cowboys will edge it out. Now, Rams versus Cardinals. That's a divisional rivals, right? I'm going to pick the Cardinals to win that. Look, I had Stafford in fantasy this season, and he kind of
you also have Kyler?
Yeah, I also had Kyler. But I started Stafford more than I started Kyler. The time that I had Stafford, I think Caleb traded me Stafford during the middle of the season, and I really liked him at the time, so I started him often. But towards the end of the season, he started to disappoint me. I don't know if it's his back. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's getting older. I just don't know. But he's been struggling.
He has gotten older.
Yeah, he
Got no.
mid-season he aged like 2 months. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on. They've been a little shaky. So I'm picking the Cardinals to win. I think Kyler Murray wants to win a playoff game. He's been doing decent this season. They started off pretty good, and then he got injured and came back. Was trying to, pick up his team and and keep them the same like they were before. But it was a little bit tough. But I still think Cardinals are going to win this game. The Rams are not looking good, from what I've seen the past few weeks. They did win last. They didn't win, but there was a close game against the 49ers last week. They lost. They were looking good in the first half, but 49ers edged it out. I think their confidence is pretty down. I think Cardinals are going to end up winning that. And so Green Bay versus the Cardinals. That's the matchup I think is going to happen. And that's going to be a pretty good game too. Kyler Murray is a competitor. He's a warrior. He was undefeated in high school. We all know the stories. But I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna be rested up, and him and the Packers are gonna win this game. It may be a high scoring game actually, because we all know the Packers defense isn't that great. But I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and the rest of the offense, I think they're gonna be able to put up the points to beat the Cardinals. So that's who I'm picking. And then Bucks versus the Cowboys. We played each other in the first week of the season and we lost by, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 points. Or no, it's 2 points actually. But we all know the Cowboys basically beat them because of a couple of field goals our kicker missed, right? And that's one thing I'm scared about, by the way. As a Cowboys fan, our kicker, he sucks. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. He's not good. I don't know what to do. I don't know if we should pick up somebody. I don't know. But anyways, the Bucks versus Cowboys, I'm picking the Cowboys to win this. Again, in the playoffs, pass rush is a big deal. The way you stop Tom Brady, you need a Micah Parsons. You need a Randy Gregory. You need players like that will rush Tom Brady and make him uncomfortable in the pocket. And I think we have that. I think we have the pieces for that. And again, I think the Bucks defense can, they're decent. They can play when they need to, but these past few weeks, they've been a little shaky. The Jets put up how much points? Was it 24 or something? They put up a lot of points on the Bucks, and they're the Jets, So I think the Cowboys are going to be able to win that. We've faced them again. We faced them before. I think the second time we're not going to lose to them. So I'm picking the Cowboys to beat the Bucks and go to the AFC Championship versus Green Bay. So NFC side, Green Bay versus Cowboys. AFC side, AFC Championship. Titans versus Chiefs. So AFC, Titans versus Chiefs. That's going to be another good game, but I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'm picking the Chiefs to beat the Titans. Look, the Titans, we all know they're a really great team and everything, but the offense is not that good to be able to compete with the Chiefs in a shootout. I don't think. Tannehill, he can get the job done, do decent, but he's not going to be able to score 30 points against the Chiefs. I don't think. I think the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna want to. It's a one game from the Super Bowl. He wants to go to the Super Bowl and redeem himself and get another ring. Right. I think he knows a lot of ways to exploit the Titans' defense. And I'm trying to remember if they played this season. I don't think they've played this season, but I'm still picking the Chiefs to win. I think Patrick Mahomes is not going to lose the AFC Championship game. Again, Tom Brady's not on the other side, so he's nothing to worry about. He's like, no, if Tom Brady's not the other quarterback, I have to win this game. There's no excuse. Chiefs are going to win. Green Bay versus Cowboys. We played Green Bay a lot in the playoffs. As a Cowboys fan, I know that we played Green Bay a lot. But I think this time, from that time where Dez actually caught it to that miraculous field goal, I think this time, finally, I think Cowboys will beat the Green Bay Packers. Again, the pass rush is a big deal. We also have Diggs, right? I think he could get interception against Aaron Rodgers, right? And it's going to be tough. It's probably going to be a close game. It always is, but our offense is pretty good. The Packers defense won't be able to stop us. It's going to be another shootout. I think it's usually a shootout between the Green Bay Packers and Cowboys, but this year is different because we have more defensive talent. Micah Parsons, he's not only the best rookie defensive player, but he's probably one of the top defensive players this year in football. And I'm so proud to say that. So I think the Cowboys will end up beating the Green Bay Packers. So it's going to be a Chiefs versus Cowboys Super Bowl. This may seem biased because I'm wearing a Cowboys jersey, but believe me, this is not. If you look at the analytics, if you look at the
Analytics tell you to go for it.
It's such a broad term.
No, like really, I think it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Cowboys. It's going to be a great game. Patrick Mahomes obviously wants another ring. It's his third time going to the Super Bowl, and he knows he's going to get a lot of backlash for losing. 2 out of the 3 Super Bowls he's been in. And so I think it's going to be close, but I have to give it to the Cowboys. Again, a major factor I'm using is that pass rush with Micah Parsons. A lot of teams are scared of that. A lot of quarterbacks are scared of that. And, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to struggle throwing the ball against the Cowboys. I don't think it's not going to be low scoring, but I think the Cowboys will be able to, score more points than the Chiefs. I think we have more talent than the Chiefs on offense. I mean, yes, they have Patrick Mahomes, but they have Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. Okay, fine. But who else do they have on there that's going to be a major threat? I don't think anybody can be that big of a threat against the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys, on the other hand, everybody's good on offense. We have everybody. We have a great tight end, Schultz. Dak, you already know what he can do. He can use his legs as well. We have 2 great running backs, Zeke and Tony Pollard, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson. He can play as well. Everybody's good. I think if we have a healthy line by then, we're going to be unstoppable. Cowboys should win the Super Bowl this year, given that they have the best all-around team. The number 1 offense, but you have great pass rushers in Micah Parsons, a great cornerback that can intercept the ball, be a game changer like Diggs. Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. And this is not a biased opinion. This is not a biased opinion. This is from my football knowledge. So that's my bracket.
All right. So we're going to open it up for some quick comments from the panel. I know Caleb, he trashed on your team pretty hard. Do you have anything to say about your team?
Yeah, I held my tongue. I respect the respect you gave us by having us lose in the first game. But I could see as a Cowboys fan you wanting the Cowboys to go all the way. I think that's commendable. I guess overall, I don't want to get too much into it without revealing like what I think for the playoffs, but I don't know.
If I had to pick out one thing, it would be the Cowboys Packers NFC Championship you got, and you have the Cowboys coming out. So are you worried about the weather? Dak is a dome quarterback, and it's going to be, I imagine it's going to be pretty chilly in Green Bay. It's going to be mid-January,
If there's any chance of snow, then you basically already lost because Rodgers never loses in the snow.
I don't have any stats on if Dak does bad in cold weather, but I
Can't imagine it being good.
Yeah, I can't imagine it being better than in a dome. So and better than Rodgers in Green Bay. So are you worried about that? Are you worried about the cold weather?
A little bit. Just don't throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, or don't opt to keep the ball with Zerline, because we know.
What do you have against CeeDee Lamb?
Well, remember the Giants game we went to? He dropped a lot of balls in the cold. He was by the
heat.
Good one. Remember that?
And, he was by the heater the whole time.
He's by the heater the whole time. He was uncomfortable. So I don't trust him in the cold. So that's a valid point. But this is going to be the NFC Championship. These guys have to suck it up, and I think they will. And so I don't think the cold's it's not going to play a huge factor in the NFC Championship.
Yeah,
the game means something. It's not a regular season game where
Well, Jared, you pointed out something that did remind me a little bit in regards to your picks, Jonathan. Is that it seems like in a way, and again, this hasn't happened or hasn't not happened or whatever I'm trying to say, but you're rewriting a little history. Bucks Cowboys rematch. Cowboys come on top. Green Bay. I think it was it's just something with with Rodgers against the Cowboys consistently
Yeah.
on top.
Yep.
You have them getting them this time. So, respect. I think the biggest difference I observe with the Cowboys that I will give you credit with is that they definitely have like superstars on defense now, which is they didn't, not that they didn't have it in the past, but before the top guys were either injured or kind of inconsistent, and now there seems to be some budding talent there. But I mean, I know statistically it's not like the top ranked because there are flaws, I think, in that pass rush and stuff like that. But the element of having those consistent guys who are making headlines for how they're doing on the defense is something that does give me a bit of a pause as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like a stat sheet that I saw where I think 2 Cowboys receivers have over 1,000 yards. Somebody has over 10 sacks. Another person has over 10 interceptions. I think
Oh,
the only
yeah.
teams that have that, right?
Yeah, with
So,
David
like,
Parsons.
yeah, exactly. So they're the best all-around team in the NFL. They're the best all-around team. They have the
No,
best talent.
they have the most superstars, I think.
Maybe the Chiefs, but my concern with the Cowboys is we've talked about they're kind of inconsistent. They're like an engine that, like, once they get revving, it's good, but if they sputter a bit in the beginning, that offense has to get chugging. That's kind of been they've blown out some teams. It's been deceptive towards the end, but we talked about that the offense can be a little inconsistent. So
Yeah.
with turnovers in the second quarters, like just letting teams catch up more than they should. Because of the offense more than the defense. So that would be my concern.
Okay.
Personally.
All right.
I think I wanted to say one more thing.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, the biggest surprise for me is that you have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, because I remember when we did that podcast back in week 7 or right after week 7, the Chiefs just lost to the Titans in week 7. They lost 27-3. So the Titans just completely dismantled them. And we had a podcast and we were like, okay, guys, like what's going on with the Chiefs? Are they going to be any good? And I was the only one. And I was like, I still think everybody's going to forget these first 7 weeks of the season. And I remember you saying that they weren't like, you could just tell this isn't their year. And you were saying that you called them out on it. You were like, this is just not their year. And I think you've proven to be right on that, because although they did go on a stretch, like a good stretch, and they've kind of gotten, they got to the second seed, they still lost a bunch of games. And even that game against the Broncos this past week, they only won by 4 points. So, like, can you explain why you have the Chiefs? You basically have them winning 3 games and going to the Super Bowl. Like, how do you think they're going to be able to beat a team like the Titans, who have been so rock solid all year, when we've all been saying that it's just not the Chiefs' year this year?
Yeah, the thing is, once you make the playoffs, I understand everything you said, Ballard, but once you make the playoffs and you're the Chiefs with so much experience, then the rest is easy. They know what to do to get it done. I mean, they know what to do to move on and make the championship. I think mainly the experience is why I chose them over all these teams. These teams, they don't have as much experience. I'm looking at the Bengals. Like, the Bengals aren't going to go too far because, I mean, they have a great team, but they don't really know what it takes to get to that level. The Chiefs know what it takes. The only experienced team in here that I see that really knows what it takes, like Mac Jones, he's a rookie. Tannehill, I mean, he has a little bit of experience as a quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it done. You need to score a lot of points to go against the Chiefs. And they did it earlier this season, but the Chiefs defense has improved. They made a lot of improvements this season. And so they're not the same team that they were. And I think you were right. You were right, John, in that a lot of people are going to forget that the Chiefs were struggling. I think they're a better team, and they just have more playoff experience. And again, the playoffs, you don't necessarily need the best team to go far. You just need the experience. You have to make the right plays at the right times, and I think the Chiefs will be able to do that.
Okay, let's move on. Caleb, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go?
I can. I can go next if you want, but I know yours is similar to John, so maybe make whatever you think makes more sense.
Yeah, maybe I'll go, and then you'll be a little buffer.
Okay, I was gonna
So
say
we don't have like the same bracket.
I haven't seen everyone else's, but it sounds like there's a bit of a difference. So
Okay,
maybe we
all
go from. Ooh,
class project.
this is interesting. Hey,
Wow.
I like. Okay, I like this a little bit.
A little.
That is
This is bold.
interesting.
I know you have at least one game called correctly. I'm looking at it.
All right, I won't make this too long, but I just have a couple
This is interesting.
statistics to say. So
Some analytics.
analytics. So first game, Chiefs Steelers. I have the Chiefs. Pretty simply, the Steelers can't keep up with the Chiefs offense. Next one, Bengals Raiders. I have the Bengals winning that game. Now there's a couple things. The Raiders have a -9 turnover differential, which is one of the worst in the playoffs. And their away red zone efficiency, which I'm going to talk about a lot, when it refers to getting touchdowns in the red zone, they are 44%. That's very bad. That is the worst away, next to the Cowboys, actually. The Cowboys away red zone efficiency when getting touchdowns, it's along with the Cowboys. I'm just,
you should have not included that. See, Jonathan, if you defended it or not, and then see what if the information for the Cowboys changed.
So I have the Bengals winning that. Also, screw the Raiders, because I'm a Chargers fan. Next, we have, I'm going to keep it on the AFC side. After the Bucks Pats, I'm just going to go kind of what Jonathan did. So we have the Buffalo versus New England Patriots game. I have Buffalo winning that. It was a very, very tough decision. When I was looking at all the statistics and the rankings of the team, of each of the teams, they are so similar. It's crazy. And I only have to go off of the red zone efficiency for the Pats when they're away is 44% again. It's really, really bad. And I think the better offense is going to come out on top. I know the Pats beat them when they were in New England, when it was or when they were in Buffalo, when it was just like very crazy, windy, snowy weather where like you could barely throw the ball. Both offenses couldn't really do what they normally do. Then they go to New England and Buffalo beats them down in New England's territory. And that's when the full offenses came together. I think Buffalo's offense is better and they'll win the game. Next, I have the Titans facing the Bengals. And in a surprise, I pick the Bengals. Couple things here. I think it's a better offense with Joe Mixon, with Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Burrow, obviously. It's just a more well-rounded offense than you look at the Titans, and that passing offense isn't consistent enough for me to pick them. I know Derrick Henry will be back, but I still don't know if he's going to be 100% and if he's going to be able to perform in a playoff game when it matters most. He has no, I don't know how long he hasn't played, but it's been a very, very long time. And I just don't think he can come into a playoff game and make a huge impact. Next, Chiefs Bills. Now, this is the one I think people will be shocked at. I have the Bills taking it in Kansas City. Couple things here. The Chiefs have a 63% red zone efficiency. The Bills. So that's actually pretty good. For an away team, that's a very good stat. And I'm going to mention that, hang on, my phone is acting up. There we go. The Bills have one of the best turnover differentials with +8 in the AFC. That is going to be crucial because what you're going to need to do is you're going to want to create turnovers, but not only on those turnovers, you need to create points. And that's when you get into the red zone and you get touchdowns. That red zone percentage is only when you get touchdowns. And that is what you need. You can't be kicking field goals against the Chiefs. Another thing is, honestly, the Buffalo Bills should have a bad taste in their mouth after being so close last year in Kansas City. They could have won it. There were a lot of chances to win it, and they couldn't get it done. And I think the Bills will have a more killer instinct than the Chiefs to try and get back to the Super Bowl. I think the Bills will be like, look, they kept us from the Super Bowl. We want to go to the Super Bowl. We want to go wherever. And we have a killer instinct to beat them, and they're going to get it done. Now, the Bills Bengals. Now, this is going to be in Buffalo. I have the Bills winning. Kind of like what Jonathan said with the Chiefs, but I think the experience over the Bengals, how they have never been to, Burrow and Jamar Chase haven't been to a playoff game. I think it's going to weigh on them in this game, and the Bills will win pretty substantially. I think it would be close when you look at it, Bills and Bengals, but I think Bills are going to actually like dominate the whole game. It won't be close. Moving on to the NFC side. Bucks, Eagles. I have the Eagles, folks. I have the Eagles. And this is just to make Caleb happy.
So you don't actually think it's going to happen?
No, of course I think it's going to happen. I wouldn't jeopardize my bracket just for Caleb's feelings. Of course.
Appreciate that.
bold.
Appreciate that.
Very bold.
So the Eagles are going to come out with a win. And there's, a couple things here and there.
Nice.
Statistically, obviously, the Eagles don't match up with the Bucks. But I went and take a look at history. And in the Bucks Eagles matchups, right, back in, since 1991, I went back to.
Wow.
Every time the Bucks won 3 straight games, they lost the 4th. And that's happened twice so far. And it's happened again right now. So the Bucks win 3 straight and they lose the 4th. They win 3 straight, they lose the 4th game.
That's this season, you're saying?
No. Since 1991, when the Bucks Eagles, like
Between
in their history of matchups.
Oh,
Yeah.
So whenever the Bucks win 3 straight, they lose the 4th one. So that comes into play because the Bucks have won 3 straight, and it looks like if the pattern holds that the Eagles could do it.
How do you even find a stat like that?
Next, I'm a very visual learner, so I look at the red and the green, and it just visually popped out.
Wow.
The next thing is veteran leadership from the Eagles. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelly, Lane Johnson, Darius Slay. All these guys are veterans in the league. Some have won a Super Bowl with the Giants, with the Eagles. Kelsey, this may be his last season, and it's kind of sad, but he has been like the heartbeat of the Eagles for so long, and I don't think he's going to want to go out so easily. People think this may be an easy game to pick, but I think a lot of the veterans are going to keep, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, all those young guys in check. And the AB distraction, that's got to weigh into it. Bruce Arians always gets a comment on it when he goes up to the podium. Tom Brady, they're asking him about it. Another thing, they don't have Godwin. So now you look at that receiving core, which had arguably 3 wide receiver ones. Now you've lost AB. Now you've lost Godwin. You have Mike Evans and Gronk and Perryman. That now it's starting to get deep into the depth chart, and it's not as star-studded as it was before. And the last thing is, I've just been a Jalen Hurts fan for so long. I begged for him to start last year. I said it from day one that I wanted him to start on the Eagles. He's a great player, but mainly his mindset. He is very poised and has that championship mentality that you need as a head quarterback, as a captain of the Eagles. And I really hope that they can pull off this upset for him, because I know the Eagles fans, they may not love Hurts at the moment, but I think this could be what could turn him around. So next I have Cowboys 49ers. I'll keep it short. I have the Cowboys because their stats at home, red zone efficiency, their turnover differential plus 14, best in the playoffs. I'm picking Cowboys. The next thing, the 49ers have a -4 turnover differential. You don't want to do that against the Cowboys. If you turn the ball over, they're scoring. The next one, I have Rams and Cardinals. I have the Rams. Now, the last 10 games for Arizona against the Rams, they've been 1-9. Another historical fact, 1-9 against the Rams. Their away red zone efficiency, 57, not the best. And Stafford and the Rams, since the offseason, since they signed him, this has been the goal. to be in the playoffs, one, but to try and win a Super Bowl. That's been the mentality the whole season. Now it's here. I don't think they waver. I think Stafford gets all of his problems in check, and he's going to be able to get it done. All right, we got Green Bay and Eagles. Now, this one is going to be Packers. They're going to win the game. I didn't even do any stats on it. It's just it's too dominant. I'm sorry. I gave you one. So then this is just dominant force. Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, nonetheless.
Rub it in.
Yeah, so it's just too much. Now we move over to the Cowboys Rams. This one was a tough one. I'll be honest. It was a tough one to look at, but I got to take the Cowboys when they're at home. When they're at home, they get the job done. As long as it's not Thanksgiving, they get it done. So I'm taking the Cowboys as per the stats that I said before with red zone efficiency, turnover differential plus 14. Now we have Bills Bengals. Did I already say Bills?
No.
Okay, Bills. The Bills Bengals. I say the Bills are going to make it. Oh yeah, I said it wasn't going to be close.
You said it was going to be pretty dominant.
With the Packers and Cowboys, this one, I mentioned it before, Jonathan. I think Dak isn't going to be this good in the cold weather as Aaron Rodgers. He freaking lives in this cold in Green Bay. And here we go. There we go. Big stat that I already said before. The Cowboys red zone efficiency when it pertains to touchdowns, scoring touchdowns in the red zone from the home to away. The home is 83%. Away, It drops to 44%, and specifically 44.12, which is the worst in the playoffs.
Wow.
Now, what the heck? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is what I was looking for.
That's a good stat, though.
When the Cowboys faced the Chiefs, they were away and they lost, and they were 0-2 in the red zone. They ended up kicking 3 field goals with Greg Zuerlein. So that's 9 total points in that game they lost. On the road against the Bucks, the first game of the season, they were 1-4 in the red zone. And the Patriots win, where they got it in overtime, was 2-5 in the red zone. And that shouldn't even gone to overtime. If you capitalize on those red zone touches, then you win the game easily in regular time. And Greg Zuerlein is a very big concern. Jonathan, as you mentioned, he's been missing a lot of kicks, not very consistent at all. I don't know, even if you get into the red zone and you get stopped, can he make those clutch field goals in playoffs in Green Bay with all the wind and all the weather? It's going to be very tough. So I pick the Packers. And Dak is a dome quarterback. So now on to the championship. We have the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers. I think the Green Bay Packers get it done on the simple fact, John, you taught me this last year with the Baylor Bears, and you said that you knew they were going to win March Madness because it was the storyline of the year. You said it's going to be between Baylor, Gonzaga. Baylor's going to end up with it because that has been the storyline that has weaved its way into the basketball season. And you just have to step back and realize that they are on a collision course to win the championship. And I took that into account this time.
Thank you.
And I credit you. And we have the same bracket. So obviously, I channeled you and we got similar brackets. But I think the Packers get it done because since before day one of the NFL season, what has been the story? It's been Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? Oh, now he's back. Is this his last ride? Oh, now it's, he just tweeted out that him and Devontae Adams tweeted out the last dance. It's going to be the last one. Oh, so this is the last time ever, blah, blah, blah. They lose the first game or whatever. And it has been the storyline every single week of every NFL game. And it's going to come down to Rodgers winning it all. And then he ends up leaving the Packers and goes somewhere else. So it's time to finish the story. The beginning, the middle, it's all been written. And now with the Packers winning, you can finish out the ending of this storyline to the NFL season of 2021. Any questions?
I forgot what I was going to mention on the Green Bay Cowboys game. Mentioned something that I found very. I forgot what you said.
I saw you perked up about Greg Zuerlein and his kicking.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Have you forgotten when Green Bay faced the Cowboys that 1 year when Dak and Zeke were rookies? Remember that?
Yeah,
Mason Crossbar had one leg kick. Hey, it's the playoffs. Anything could happen. So I'm not too concerned about that because, hey, when it comes down to the actual pressure in the playoffs, he may be able to get us that last field goal that will make us win the game. I mean, Mason Crossbar did it. He had a miraculous field goal.
No.
Maybe if
what
the
did Skip say?
If the NFL powers are in your favor, then maybe. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Like I said, when you guys are at home, if you guys were first place, I would have you guys going all the way because your statistics at home are light years above everybody's. Plus 14 differential, 80 something in the red zone efficiency. But when you go to away, that's when you start to sputter. That's where the inconsistency comes in. And unfortunately, it's not an easy place to play. It's in Green Bay. That's a tough place. It's not like it's in LA where you got the dome and it's familiar to Dak. This is going to be very, very tough.
Interesting.
But I like the Cowboys when they're at home, and I pick them when they're at home.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat, and props to you for finding that because I did not know that. Because it definitely was just going off of feeling, it feels like the Cowboys get a lot of hype and momentum from being in their home stadium, and to see it statistically reflect is true. But like to play in Lambeau, if that comes down to it, I could very well justify that. Yeah, I guess you don't think the Rams are going to beat the Cowboys then?
No, I don't.
They invested all this money, traded away their picks. Like this is it's winner. This is it.
I really did want to have the Rams go far. I really did because I picked them early. With picking up Stafford, I picked them to go pretty far in the playoffs, theoretically, not knowing the bracket. But the way the bracket just works out for them, it's unfortunate. But they didn't get the job done. During the season, they should have won against the 49ers. They should have taken that spot over the Cowboys, and then they would have been at home. And then it kind of slides into their favor. But it's unfortunate they didn't get the job done during the regular season.
Yeah, so I want to ask you one quick thing. Just give me like a sentence. Why do you have? I know you explained it a little bit, but the Eagles over Bucks, like I know you said experience and stuff, but really, like you don't think Brady's just gonna be like, I'm not gonna lose this game at home?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously that's his mentality. It's not like he's gonna be like, I give it up. But
like, when is he ever like, yeah, I'm gonna lose this one?
Yeah. But no, I just have a really weird feeling that like last year with the Bucks, there was all this momentum going in with a win streak, and it's his first year in the Bucks. Can he win without Belichick? So there's all these storylines that fed into it, as well as the momentum of winning like 4 or 5 straight games. In this one, I just feel like they have zero momentum. There's a lot of off the field issues with the AB. Richard Sherman just got ruled out for the playoffs. Godwin's out. There are just some holes that are starting to pierce through, and the Eagles are not going to take this opportunity lightly. They hate Tom Brady. They beat him in the Super Bowl and when it mattered most. So the Eagles just have it in their veins to beat Tom Brady. And if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be an NFC East team. And
yeah.
And then I
agree to that.
Yeah, and like I said, the red zone efficiency is very high, 73% away. That's a very, very good percentage, especially when Miles Sanders is going to be coming back. So that adds to it. So yeah.
And then one more thing is just, I know you explained this before, but like I know you explained the Bengals beating Raiders and then you dissected them beating the Titans, but like, how do you have a quarterback who's never been to the playoffs before? And I know Burrow and Chase and Higgins, they've been really good, but like explain why you have them going all the way to the AFC Championship and all of their first times going to the playoffs.
I do like that Burrow doesn't have to do everything. Like, yes, his stats are a lot, but like you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, arguably the best wide receiving core. So it's not all on the shoulders of the rookie quarterback. But with the Patriots, it really is all on Mac Jones. If he has a bad game, they're gonna lose. And if they can't establish the run, it's even worse, because that's really the only thing going for him. If Mac is not hitting, they don't have the receiving core to back up Mac Jones as Burrow does to his receiving core.
Don't forget, they beat the Bills with Mac Jones only throwing like 3 passes that one game. Remember that?
No, I know that, but the weather, I can't score that game because it was so random. They had one breakout run that Damian Harris had that was like the sealer, the clincher in the whole thing.
And that was in the first quarter.
Yeah, like you couldn't throw the ball. It just crazy weather, and if anything, if it's in Buffalo and say it's the exact same weather, and you could make that argument. I haven't checked weather.com, but you could make the argument that Pats have a better run offense, and that would be a deciding factor if the weather is so bad that you cannot pass the ball. But when everything is fine, the Bills, oh my God, the Bills, Josh Allen, better quarterback, receivers, better receivers, defense, I'm going to go Patriots on that one, but not as of late. The Patriots defense as of late hasn't been doing well, but I just don't see the Patriots winning this one with a rookie quarterback. But with Burrow, who's in his second year, but basically his first, he has a lot of help. Joe Mixon.
Then going to the Titans, like the Titans have a first round bye, and with Henry coming back, you have them going to Tennessee off a bye.
So
and
Titans are the fakest team on this list.
Oh, whoa.
They are the fakest team on this list.
Why are they fake? Yeah, why are they fake?
You look at turnover differential, right? They are -3 turnover differential, which is the second worst below or right in front of the Raiders, who are -8. So thank God they're above the Raiders, but -3 against them in turnover differential. And then at home with their red zone efficiency, they're 66%. So that's very good, but they don't get the turnovers, right? My reasoning for comparing the turnovers and the red zone efficiency is when you get those turnovers, what do? Do you score a touchdown, or do you kick field goals, or do you not get any points? So I just try to compare those together. With the Titans specifically, can pull up my list here. They are 15th in points off of turnovers. 15th. That's not good. You're the number 1 seed. Like the points off turnovers, the Cowboys have a lot. The Bucks have a lot. They're the high seeds. The Packers, they're all in the top for points off turnovers because they make the most of it. The Titans are 15th. They don't make the most of the turnovers at all, and they don't even get turnovers. So the Bengals are going to be, I honestly think it's going to be Bengals running away with this in the end. Maybe it's close until the fourth quarter, but then how are you going to contain this Bengals offense? It is going to be very, very difficult for a Titans defense that was good in the first half and then started to sputter midway. Now it's kind of found its rhythm, but I'm not confident that they could even corral the Bengals. And the only team that I think could would be the Bills. They have a good enough defense to corral everybody.
And that's why you shouldn't look at stats too much, because it can be deceiving. Like John said, and like we've been saying, Derrick Henry is coming back. He's going to be healthy. And this is the playoffs. He said, this is the playoffs. He's not going to be ready for it. He's a competitor. He's going to play his best. He wants to win. He wants to go far. Even if he's not 100%, he's going to give it his best.
Well, that's Derrick the thing. If his best is not 100%, then he might not perform. He might not perform well. So that's the thing. I could be wrong, but you're putting it into an unknown with Derrick Henry and just assuming that he's going to be the same exact player he was when he left. It may not be the case. It may not be the case. So you could be right. Derrick Henry could come out and have 150 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'd be like, all right, like it is what it is. But I think as it stands, you have a running back that's coming off of an injury mid-season, and he's missed a lot of games, and I just don't have the confidence in him. So
Just
yeah.
to add a little context to that, because I was curious about when Henry went down, and I'm just looking at their regular season. So it looks like statistically he went down in week 8 or week 9. It started to go Foreman, Peterson. Like Henry wasn't leading the Titans in rushing, right? So when they do have Henry, and like you said, it's an unknown quantity, and I'm not, just kind of bouncing off this idea of them being the fakest. It's kind of crazy that they are number one, even though they lost their MVP player. And part of that, I think, is they did have kind of an easier schedule. Like the tough teams that in my opinion are tough that they faced would, like Los Angeles. They lost to Pittsburgh, but they won against Los Angeles the week without Henry. San Francisco, they won without Henry, but then all the other teams like Miami, Houston, Jacksonville, and in New England they lost too. So some of the tougher teams, if you could debate, has been a mixed bag. When they do have Henry, they were able to beat Kansas City, Buffalo, the Colts, who were hot. They did lose to Arizona the first week, so it's like it'll be interesting to see when with Henry back. But I think that number one is deceptive or fake because they had an easier schedule and maybe some of that because that whole conference was wildly competitive, the whole AFC. So I think that's a part of it.
Yeah, if Henry comes back and he's exactly the same, I'd be a little worried. But I still don't like the passing offense for the Titans. Like Tannehill at quarterback is a little worrisome, and Julio has been injured for a while. He just came back. AJ Brown's coming into his own, but consistency, is it going to be consistent enough? I don't know. So, and I had to have at least one upset, because the AFC, it's like everyone beat everyone in this league. So
yeah, no one knows. No one knows. They do have a good offensive line, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So let's move on to Caleb. Let's move on to your bracket.
I can't wait.
No. No. Wait, Caleb, what? You have the Bills going all the way? You don't trust the Bills usually, I feel like.
There's a lot of factors going in. I just want you guys to.
So for the podcast, for the listeners on Spotify and whatever, they don't really know what's going on. So Caleb, why don't you explain?
Yeah. Well, the big eye catching thing here in this bracket is I have the Bills and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'll work my way through this. I'll start with the AFC as you guys have done. Between Kansas City and the Steelers, I'm giving it to Kansas City. Not much to say there. I think it'd be really poetic and cool even if Roethlisberger made a Super Bowl, like a deep Super Bowl run. But, I don't know if the Roethlisberger of old is there. They barely got in if the Chargers hadn't called a timeout, And, part what I'm saying is it'd be cool emotionally if, somehow because of that mistake he ends up winning a Super Bowl. Hey, good for him, whatever. But realistically, I think the Chiefs, despite their inconsistencies, which I'll get to in a little bit, the Chiefs will win that one. Buffalo Bills versus Patriots. I'm giving it to the Bills. I think the Bills are better, well-rounded. I think this will be. You never discount Belichick, and Jones has been good, but there's been some chinks in the armor there for the Patriots, and I think the Bills just have that experience in the playoffs a bit. They're hungry. They have a well-rounded team. They got really good not home, but the fans are rabid. They're hungry for winning in the playoffs, hungry for a run. I think this is the year that they have a chance to do it. And again, the AFC is so much of an enigma, I think, that anyone can beat anyone that, I would say part of me does think the Buffalo Bills are not, immortal. They definitely have serious flaws and they've lost to weird teams. But I think when push comes to shove, they've been able to beat, tougher teams. And I think they'll beat the Patriots for that. Between the Bengals and the Raiders, again, the Raiders have overcome so much. This would be another really cool, like poetic thing if they made a deeper run, and they did look like the better team, more consistently well-rounded. Like I don't think their highs were higher, if you will, offensively or defensively against the Chargers, but it'd be cool for the storyline that all the off-field stuff, all the things going on with the injuries and the coaching and Ruggs and all that, like for them as a fan base to see their team do well and all the other guys on the team with Carr and a lot of uncertainty with him. Do well would be cool, but I think it's Carr and Burrow's first playoff games, I believe, and so one of them's gonna have to win. I think I like Burrow. I think he's a cool customer, as I call him, and I just think Carr has shown to be a little inconsistent. It's like what Carr is going to show up, whereas Jared, you kind of alluded to, Burrow is a little more consistency amongst other weapons. Part of me worries for the Bengals, like letting Burrow get some of those hits, but they've improved, and I think they'll be able to come out with a win. Going to the Titans and Bengals, I alluded to this a little bit when I went through this with Jared's bracket just now, but the Titans, I wouldn't say are a fraud. Like, they are a very good team, very committed to the run. Even without Henry, they were able to get a couple of their backups to get 100 plus yards rushing, and Tannehill was able to be good. They have a good offensive line, so when you have that and a quarterback like Tannehill who can win you games and is consistent, like as long as they don't turn over, which is what you talked about, Jared, they have a chance. But with Henry coming back, I think if they're rushing him back, which is what it feels like, I don't know if that's true. Like, I know a lot of this is psychological warfare with the other team, but I'm just feeling like the Bengals, let's talk about, they have a 31-year drought, right, in winning a playoff game. I think that momentum from the Raiders, from beating the Raiders, will carry them against the Titans. And I think the Titans will be a little soft coming off the bye and banking a little bit too much, maybe more than they should, on Henry, than maybe diversifying. Now, they have a good coach there. And again, AFC, who knows? It's such a conundrum, and who can beat who. Anyone can win. You know, that's true in anything, but AFC, you've seen that more than a lot of other seasons. So I'm going to give that to the Bengals just because I feel like it.
And also, no
Yeah.
one has sent a text message saying the Bengals have won a playoff game.
Yeah, there was okay. I had this article, I think, by let's see what his name is. I think it's
What was it,
John,
1991 or something?
Yeah, John Breach, who I think he talks about. I think his dad actually hit an extra point in the Bengals' last playoff appearance, and he's like, his dad's 65. He wrote in his article that, quote, "The Bengals' playoff win is closer in history to JFK's assassination than it is to 2022." So, you know, being a Bengals family, I assume there's certainly some bias there. But I also think, Burrow, it's crazy because you got to consider how bad the Bengals were for so long. And I've talked about this in other podcasts. Like, I wasn't sure if the organization had the gumption to be good, even if they got Burrow. But Burrow's first season, first healthy season, if you will, because not that last season was his rookie year, but he got injured. So his first full season healthy, they're already playoff contenders. I just think that underdog, I don't know if it's so much underdog, but that comeback, that turnaround story, I think it's going to carry them. I think Burrow has the makings to make it deep, and the team to back it up with Chase coming into form already, and breaking the drought will be a good momentum thing too. I think Burrow's got it. And with that being said, I think the first year for Burrow to be in the playoffs will come back into play when they play against the Bills. Between the Chiefs and Bills, I do have the Bills, which is controversial, I know, but the Bills have beaten them before. We've gotten through that narrative, so it's really anyone's game. I'll give credit; could go either way, but I think the Bills can control the game better than Kansas City. I know they've been on a tear, inconsistent for the Bills, but the Chiefs as well started off with a very poor start to the season statistically. But once they got, I think, Chris Jones back on defense, that really made a big difference for what they could do for the rotation. And if they get pressure on, I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong there, but I just think the defense for defense, I think the Bills can depend on theirs more, and I'm going to give it to them. And then between the Bills and Bengals, like I said, I think the Bengals, it'll be cool to see those Allen and Burrow and those two defenses and those two offenses go together. But I think the drought will we'll look at that game and be like, all right, they're going to lose. The Bengals are going to lose. And that's good job. Like, we were so bad for so long. You broke the drought. We have hope. And going into the next season, we're contenders now. So we can attract talent. We can get some signings, build the defense a little more, get Burrow some protection because he's gotten hit a couple times. That makes me worry for the long-term health of him. So I think the Bills will be able to exploit that. They have the more they've been contenders for a while. So I think if this is a year that they can do it, they can do it, So I got the Bills going to the Super Bowl. I know that's the opposite of music in Jonathan's ears, but I'm going to move now to the NFC, and I'll start at the bottom, change it up a bit of our graphic here. Cardinals versus Rams. I'm giving it to the Rams. I think the Rams invested so much that I have to like just psychologically they put so much on the line. It's not like you X plus Y and then you get Z. But it's like but I just feel like they have so much to lose and they've shown that they're willing to put the skin in the game to prove like, hey, we're in it to win it this year. That I think they'll come out on top against the Cardinals. Again, I don't want to underestimate Kyler Murray. He has my respect. I like him a lot. Ertz is on that team and he brings a Super Bowl winning like touch to that team that's kind of come into form in the past few seasons. I just think I'm going to give it to the Rams because of that pass rush. I think they do have like a lot of superstar talent that's almost like what I said about the Bucks a year ago, or when they were like you're getting all these good players. It's gonna too many chefs spoil the pot, you know. But I'm gonna give it to McVay and the coaching and the Rams to be able to beat the Cardinals. And then I'm going to move now. So LA will move on. Cowboys versus 49ers. The first and best reason I think for why the Cowboys will lose is I'm an Eagles fan, and I think that says it for itself. Two is I think this is bouncing off one, so maybe it's 1B or 1A, if you will. But as an Eagles fan, I think the Cowboys have been riding high, and props to you, Jonathan. I mean, you guys have. I like Dak Prescott as a person a lot. I think he is also your guy as a coach. I mean, as a quarterback. I mean, any talk about him not being the quarterback, I think is silly. But you know, you still got Elliott on the team. He can be good, but diversify the run game is good overall. But it's like this inconsistency among the offense, the sputtering start, the such a differential between the home performance and away performance shows the kind of the sputtering engine, if you will, the inconsistency that the Cowboys have kind of shown throughout some of the tougher games this season. And I think it's going to come back to bite them because I don't think many people really expect San Francisco to beat them. And that's another reason why I went for San Francisco is that they do have a really good defense, and Garoppolo is consistently good enough to not lose. I don't think he's necessarily better per se than some of the other quarterbacks in this thing, but he has experience under Brady. He can be good. Obviously, the injury to the thumb is going to be a factor, but he's just the 49ers are consistently, they don't have a lot of superstars that get talked about. Like they're not a team that gets a lot of media attention, if you will, unless you're in California, San Francisco. But they consistently show up, and so that's why I'm gonna give it to them. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I give you the same love you gave to the Eagles, and then I'm gonna go. Speaking of Eagles, I will go Bucks versus Eagles. Now, you might think that my bias is getting in the way here, and I don't think that's the case. I think I think there's a legitimate. All right, you give the Eagles underdog status, and that's like the X factor in Madden. That's like players start to overperform. I like Jared your arguments. I think you hit the nail on the head that we have a balance of a lot of veterans who were in the Super Bowl and also just veteran talent, and then also budding new talent. Whereas when we won the Super Bowl, we had a lot of older guys, and that's why we had so many injuries leading into it. But then we've got a good mix, I think, to help develop. Talking about Kelsey Johnson, these guys who had their own, Johnson with his own adversity and things like that. But speaking of all that underdog status, whatever, Brady knows that the Eagles are a good team. I think he said like you give him respect. I think some pundits, some people will just give it to Brady immediately, and I would give this that if I'm wrong about the Cowboys and they were to go against the Bucks, I do think it's going to be an NFC East team that beats the Bucks, beats Brady specifically. But that being said, I think the Eagles D line. I said this throughout the whole year, and as part of why I was wrong because I took it back, or then I reclaimed it. But why the Washington football team beat the Bucks is because they have a really good defensive line to get pressure. That being said, I'd add to saying nothing of the drama of the narrative of AB, Antonio Brown leaving the Bucks. It just comes down to the stats. Like the fact of the matter is, losing Godwin was already huge in terms of what he could do for that offense, and then you're just losing another guy like AB who was one of Brady's top targets. Like in fantasy wise, if you picked him up, he was just getting reception. Like he was feeding him the ball. And Gronk is still a force to be like can you stop Gronk? No, but you can limit he can get an 80-yard touchdown every play either. Like you got to limit him somehow. I think the Bucks will try to exploit our linebackers, sure, but the Eagles have the pieces in place to at least buy time with the corners, solid safeties, and that defensive pressure. Now, Eagles have the number one rushing offense, and I think that's a little deceptive. I'll take it. It's a cool stat. and because I mentioned this because the Buccaneers had, I think, the best rushing defense, and you know, analytic, sure, that should, I don't, defenses generally have an advantage, I'd say, in the NFL in terms of that kind of thing. Problem is, the Eagles have had so many different rushers succeed that it's not like we have one guy that you can shut down. We have a diversity of players. We're getting Sanders back. We've had Howard show up. Hurts is a scrambling quarterback. So it's like that's another reason why the stat is so high. That it's not a matter of necessarily bottling up the middle or, you know, but you have to stop the run in the middle and also cover guys like Smith and, keep an eye on Hurts when he scrambles out of the pocket, so you got to have you can't commit fully to stopping the run without, when you have a scrambling quarterback like that. So I think that stat is it's true, but if it was like we had a Henry or if we had a one or two guy back that consistently were like one of these two guys is going to perform, then yeah, I'd be a little more scared. But the fact is that the Eagles can definitely, if we stick to the run, if we, not to say Hurts can't throw it, but if we stick to the run, as has gotten us to victory, and if we lose by running it more than we should, I'd rather that than to go to what lost us a couple games at the beginning. Run and run, try to control the ball, force the Tampa to respect the run and respect the scramble. And I think for me as an Eagles fan, I am concerned with the Buccaneers. I mean, Brady's consistent. He's really good. I never discount him. But I'm very scared of the running backs in that scenario. I know Fournette's really come into his own. Was it Penny? Is the other, not Penny?
Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones. Yeah.
Rojo.
Yeah,
Rojo.
those two guys do scare me. They can have some. I'm expecting some big plays, but as I said, the Eagles have had some. I mean, Smith has become. If you ask me, like I'm an Eagles fan, but I think he's had some superstar talent as a wide receiver with the toe tap touchdown. I think a week or two ago. Like when push comes to shove, Hurts and Smith and Goddard too. We have the pieces in place to do it. So I think the Eagles will get that one. LA versus San Francisco. I'm going to go with San Francisco in that one because I'm just feeling like a little upset here and there. I think the Rams want it really bad, but I can't really explain why. Just one of those gut things that part of me just wants to see something new happen. I think it's expected that LA wins. I kind of just want to do something
San
unexpected.
Francisco has beat them each of the last 6 or 7 meetings, Jared.
There you go.
There
you go.
They did it for a 6th time, so now they're 6-0 in the last 6 meetings.
Wow. Okay, so there we go. My feelings were backed by logic. So thank you, thank you, John. I respect that. Green Bay versus Eagles. This is one that I was torn on. Morally, I have to pick the Eagles. I think. See, I like Rodgers. I think this is another poetic, if you will, narrative thing. But from the beginning of the season, Rodgers has gotten so much hate and like talk in the media, and I think another part is like people love him on McAfee, and I feel like people in the mainstream, like are like, "What? Why is he talking more to them?" Like people want to bring him down, and I'm not referencing any of his politics or anything. I think he's a good quarterback, but traditionally, other than the one year they won the Super Bowl, and they're a great team, but the defense just hasn't been there, and I don't know if enough has changed for that story to change. I'm curious what you guys think, if your thoughts are different in that scenario, but in my eyes, I feel like Rodgers has consistently been the reason why they get to the playoffs and contend, but then something happens on defense with the calling or the playing and something, not to say it's never Rodgers' fault in any, part, but it's the full team. And I think like if you go Rodgers or Brady, I think Brady's done a better job at least being, but by fate or by, governance or something, being on teams that have a good balance of both, investing in that. That I'm just going to go with the underdog Eagles. So then we have a surprise Eagles, San Francisco, who would have thought, but I did.
I think you're the only one. I think you're the only one that had that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
This is why your last bracket, first round was right. And then it just gets too much. It's too much. No. Hey, who knows? Who knows? It hasn't happened
such a weird year that this is another reason why I was just like, you know what? We just got to go against the obvious, and that's just something I had to consider. That's a bad decision. That's an analytic, guys. Okay.
Yeah, analytics.
That's one of them. So yeah, between San Francisco Eagles, this is I'm curious if you ran the simulation in Madden, who would win?
Madden would be like, this is too unlikely of a matchup. I can't sim this.
It would break the computer. The PS4 can't compute.
Like, you're sure this is for the NFC Championship? Is that what you just said?
What? I just think, all the reasons for why, if they can beat the Bucks and the Packers, the momentum will be too strong. And that momentum will carry the Eagles to the Bills, Buffalo Bills versus Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. And I think everyone's going to be like, oh, it's the Bills. It's obvious. But we're talking about 2021, 2022 season. It's underdog time. It's, upset city. You give the Eagles that kind of stat where all the pundits are like, hey, we're going to go with the obvious, then you got to give them, a huge boost. So I think the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, it would be such a story too. That the first season with a new coach started off terribly. Of all the new coaching hires, somehow gets us there. Even I, at the beginning of the season, had so much doubt and was like fear for how good the Eagles were. For them to make it to the top, I think would be very, very pleasing. So that's my pick.
My
very
question. My question. One question.
All right,
If they did win, would you go to the parade this time?
Oh yeah.
Because the last time we were in Rochester, you debated driving all the way down.
I would have had to leave at like 1 a.m, gone back. No, I wish I'd gone, but there were, I guess school's important, so.
Yeah.
Now, Caleb, I've known you for a long time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Known you for a long time. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
I know it's going to be backhanded.
But, do you really think the Eagles, think Jalen Hurts can take him that far?
That was going to be my question too. That was going to be my question too. Like,
really? I was going to say, how do you have the Chiefs over the Steelers? I just don't.
Caleb, do you really? Come on, like, I know you want them to win, but like, the Packers would beat Eagles, right? Or do you actually think Eagles are going to go all the way?
I think it'd be a good game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong.
So are you saying yes? You actually think Eagles are going to win?
No. I'm showing I'm not biased by saying, like, I could see it happening. I like Rodgers a lot. He's a great quarterback. But so I think it's more mentally like, oh, Hurts can't do it, right? We're talking about 11-11 here. We're talking about 50-some guys versus their guys. I think we got the pieces. We got the, my worry is the defense, because we tend to be a second half team, right? So I'd rather be that kind of team than the first half team. But that being said, I think in a way that, and hear me out, John, because I know you, in a way that Dak is like, maybe not statistically or the flashiest, the best quarterback. He has this intangible leadership kind of grounding quality to everyone else. I think Hurts has a little bit of that. It's like hard to explain, but just those guys that I pictured a little bit like Wilson, although Wilson has Russell Wilson has the stats to back it up. But like when Russell Wilson had Marshawn Lynch, who was kind of a wild card guy, but Wilson was like the calm. I think the Hurts is kind of like that steady hand who runs the ship, but then you got some characters on the offensive line alone. Goddard, he's the kind of guy, I'm glad he's on our team. I think he's like, and the running, like part of why we're the rushing leaders because it Hurts. So like who else in the NFC, except maybe Kyler, has more of an ability to run on the ground than Hurts or Kyler? Because I mean, look, Rodgers is more scrambling out of the pocket. I'll give you that, but he's not a scrambling quarterback. But he can buy time. But everyone else is pretty much a pocket passer. If you maybe Dak can, everyone, it'll be curious because everyone else is pretty much a pocket passer except maybe Rodgers or Dak. Their styles are a little different, but the fact that there's only one or two teams with a pure scrambling one is enough that you might have to consider. Maybe.
Let me ask you this, Caleb.
What
win this year gives you the confidence that the Eagles can go this far? Because I'm looking at the schedule now.
They
like,
haven't
what
beat,
win
they
you guys
haven't
have
beat,
that?
yeah,
gives
they
you
haven't beat
confidence?
a playoff team. The best team they beat were the Saints, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Well, while Caleb's thinking about that, let me just say something. It worries me a lot. This, I'm not saying the Eagles will beat the Packers, but some team could beat the Packers on the fact that they're everyone's favorite to win, and that's never a good sign. We always see on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, and all the analysts start picking. And if it's a unanimous sweep, then that team's going to lose. And I've seen, Packers are the popular team to win. So I'm not saying the Eagles can take them down, but it's not crazy to think that they could lose first round because one, they're everyone's favorite. So that's not a good sign. And two, it's the last dance, according to Rodgers and Adams. And it's a lot of pressure. Say they go into this game and Eagles jump on them fast, 10-0, 14-0. And they're like, shoot, like, I know Rodgers is a veteran. He'll probably overcome it. But to those younger players, or maybe to Adams, and maybe a little in the back of his head of Rodgers, it's like, crap, like this is my last time in Green Bay. If I lose this, like we're done. So now it's like you have this urgency, this outside force that's like, oh, well, we need to get back in this. We need to win this game. And it's like, oh, you got plenty of time. Like it takes the calm out of it because it's the last one. This is the last playoff for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, supposedly. So it puts some unnecessary pressure on the Packers where the Eagles are just playing with house money. So they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's a factor you do have to consider for the Eagles. I like that thought though, because if it's true that he's leaving the Packers, regardless of how, like, he's gonna have 2 games at least 1 game in Lambeau, maybe 2 if I'm wrong. But the emotions of like this is your home and you're gonna be potentially going somewhere else. Like maybe I mean, there's no other quarterback I'd say that under pressure has no problem, But that's just something that
it's just unnecessary outside.
Whereas the Eagles getting into the playoffs alone after like seeing what happened with the Colts, like it's already a win because we're made the playoffs the first year head coach, the first full season with Hurts, and we have 3 first-round picks. Like it's already a win if you look at this year for building up the next one. But at this point, we have nothing to lose except for the time that the guys we do have. So you're going to be playing like for blood, I think the Eagles will. Whereas like Brady, you got the narrative of another Super Bowl and all the other fields. Like all these other quarterbacks, like I mean, that the Eagles would face have something like Garoppolo's already in a Super Bowl. Like they have something to prove. To add to a legacy, if you will. Whereas the Eagles, it's like underdog. We have having nothing to lose can make them real dangerous. So I think, yeah, I can see why the schedule doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. I'll give you that. A stat by this Breach fellow was that since 2007. All right. Quote, I said 7 because I was start with a quote. Quote, since 2007. Brady has faced a total of 4 NFC East teams in the playoffs, and although his team was favored to win each time, Brady is just 1-3 straight up in those games and 0-4 against the spread. Meaning, I mean, of course. Are you
saying we should use our New York betting apps and bet against Brady in this game?
This is not financial advice. Yeah, I mean, 3 of the games were Super Bowls, as he mentions in the article. But yeah, going off of that, it's just NFC East has got Brady's. Not that he's never beaten us, but if there's ever a chance to beat Brady in the playoffs or a Super Bowl, it's an NFC East team. I don't know why. I think it's because our division is so competitive that it's happened. It just breeds this kind of visceralness that's not used to, But I think teams will underestimate us because of our schedule. But old style, if we stick to the run and, no matter what, I think, and depend on the run more than we depend on passing, even if the run starts off slow, that old style, like pounding ground football will wear down even the best of teams, like if you stick at it. So it'll be curious to see, between that on the offensive side and the defensive coaching. I think Cannon is the guy who's gotten he got a lot of hate, but then we come back in the end to win. So it's like hard to, I think he's learning. It's his first year, but hey, we're here. So, we'll see for him.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, if the Eagles are able to pull off the upset and beat the Bucks, and I'll give you major respect, Caleb. And like, that'll be a huge.
It'd be crazy if the Cowboys, Eagles. Yeah. Thank you. That'd be cool. That would be cool. If the Cowboys Eagles play, I think it would be wild. That's like, we'd have to go there.
What's funny is in your bracket, you have the 49ers. You have the Rams playing the Cardinals, and then you have the Rams playing the 49ers. They're literally are not going to be out of their division if this goes the way like they're just never going to be facing a non-division rival. Like that's so annoying. Like they probably see this and like, are you kidding me? Even if we win, we have to face the team that we haven't beaten in 6 straight times. Like,
so that's my and for those who can't see it, I have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That's the Eagles.
All right. Anybody else want to comment? All right. So we're gonna move on to the grand finale, the time traveler, John.
What? Ooh.
Wow.
Hey. I like this.
So I see
like this.
a lot of good reactions. Jonathan, you do know me pretty well. So I just want to preface this by saying one stat for you guys is that only 5 times in the last 19 seasons have both number 1 seeds made the Super Bowl. So if you think the Packers are going to make it, then that means the Titans won't. And if you think the Titans will, then you think the Packers won't, because it's very unlikely that both make it. But I think I just want to preface all my, like, I'm going to go through each matchup like all the other guys did. But basically, Jonathan, you know this. Football is all about matchups. And like, yeah, the stats are nice. I'm going to bring in some stats at the end of my arguments, but it's really about how these teams match up with each other. Like, for example, I have the Eagles winning 1 game in these playoffs, and I don't have the Cardinals winning any games. I think the Cardinals are a better team, but it has to do with the matchups and how these teams match up against the other teams. So I just want to preface that. By saying it's all about matchups, and I'm going to talk about that. Basically, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about for all the games that I go through, is how these teams match up against each other, and then bringing in some stats to back that up. So some of these games I'm not going to really spend time on because I don't think there's that much explaining to do. So the first one in the AFC, the Chiefs and Steelers. The Chiefs are going to win this game, and there's really not much explaining to do. The Steelers kind of got lucky to get into the playoffs, and at Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs are going to win this game by at least 10 points. And I'm not going to listen to anybody that thinks the Steelers are going to win. I'm sorry. The second game, the Bills and Patriots, I'm also really not going to listen to anybody that thinks the Patriots are going to win, because that's not going to happen. Like Jared said, the first game against these teams that the Patriots won, it was just an outlier. It was because the weather was super bad. I did check the weather for this upcoming weekend, and it's supposed to be really cold, obviously, like wind chill. I think it's supposed to be -degrees or something, but it's not going to be as windy as it was the first time around. So the better the weather, the better it favors the Bills. But even if the weather's not as good, the Bills are going to win this game, and I don't see why anybody thinks the Patriots are going to win. The next game I think is a little more controversial. I think I'm the only one to pick the Raiders. Is that right?
I'm not listening to anyone who picked the Raiders, so move on.
I can't believe you guys
really
have
bold.
Bengals. I can't believe you guys have Bengals going to the AFC Championship. But anyway,
I think this is bolder. This is bolder than the
What?
Eagles pick, and you picked
What?
Eagles and Raiders.
really,
Yeah, this is pretty bold.
I
Bold.
didn't pick the Raiders, but I can see the Bengals Raiders game going either way. I just
Right.
it
Well-
goes down to okay. Go on.
So the reason that so when you look at this game, they played earlier this season, and the Bengals won. I think it was like 31-17, something in that range. And Mixon had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But when you look at this game, you think, okay, so the Bengals, how do the Bengals score points? Usually it's with those deep passes, right? So if you play man coverage on these receivers, Higgins and Chase, they go up and they make big plays down the field. Like if you blitz Burrow, he's basically just going to chuck it up to Chase or Higgins, and they're going to make a play, right? So the Raiders, they actually blitz 11.4% of the time, which is the least out of any team in the NFL. And the Chiefs, they run the most man coverage in the NFL, which is why they got obliterated by Jamar Chase, 266 yards. But the Raiders, they run zone coverage about 70% of the time. They run one of the highest percent of zone coverages in the NFL. And that's what they did the first time against these Bengals. Jamar Chase only had like 3 catches for 30 yards or something. T. Higgins had I think he had 2 catches for 20 yards. Tyler Boyd had a better game because how you attack the Raiders is in the middle of the field. I talk about this all on my fantasy podcasts and on my lives. The way to attack them is on the ground and then in the middle of the field. And the Bengals actually game planned really well for that. Mixon had a good game, 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards, and Boyd had the best game out of all the receivers. But I think when they replay this game again, I think the Raiders are going to do pretty well on defense. And I think the Raiders, their rush defense, a lot of you might be saying their rush defense is not good. Like, aren't you saying like the way to attack them is in the middle of the field running the ball? But the Raiders have the second best rush defense in the last 3 games. And you might be saying, well, they probably didn't play any good teams. Well, they played the Broncos, who have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. That's decent. They played Jonathan Taylor in the Colts, and then they played Austin Eckler in the Chargers. And they're still the second best run defense in the last 3 weeks. So they corrected their mistake. They've worked on their weaknesses. And with Waller coming back, I don't know about you guys, but watching Waller against the Chargers, I know he dropped a couple passes, but him running routes, he looked really good. So I think the Raiders, they have so much momentum coming off this win against the Chargers. And some people might be like, oh, it went to overtime. They're really tired. I think they're going to beat the Bengals. And, Burrow in his first playoff game, I know it's Carr's first playoff game too. I think Burrow's going to struggle. And one more thing is that Pro Football Focus rates quarterbacks every game, right? They give ratings to quarterbacks and stuff. And Joe Burrow, his worst game of the season, as stated by Pro Football Focus, was that game against the Raiders, even though they put up 30 points. So that was his worst game of the year statistically. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I think the Raiders are going to go on the road and win that game. Then I have the Titans against the Raiders. Derrick Henry coming back. I think the Titans off a bye, they're not going to really lose that game. They've been the most consistently good team this whole season, which is why they ended up as the 1 seed in the AFC. And I think the Titans are going to beat the Raiders probably pretty easily. And then on the other side, I have the Chiefs and Bills. The Bills already beat the Chiefs this season in Arrowhead Stadium. I think they're going to do the same again. And I don't really think it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty close, but I think there's nobody really, I think in the AFC that has the higher ceiling than the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, when he's playing as good as he has, him and the Bills are just very good. So I have the Bills over the Chiefs. They match up pretty well. They've already beaten them this year in Arrowhead. And then I have the Bills and the Titans in the AFC Championship game. And as you guys could see, I do have the Bills. I think the Bills are going to win this game. Now, they did play earlier this season, the Titans and the Bills, and it was in Tennessee. Now, the Bills ended up losing that game 34-31. But what happened was it was close, back and forth all game. Derrick Henry had 148 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. But what it came down to was a 4th and goal, or is a 4th and 1 from the 2-yard line. So they could have got the first down at the 1, 22 seconds left in the game. The Bills, instead of deciding to kick the field goal and go to overtime, they decide to go for it. Josh Allen tries to QB sneak it, doesn't get it. He kind of slipped, his foot slipped. They ended up losing that game. I think if they go back, the Bills now have a good look at Derrick Henry. And like Jared said, I don't really trust Tannehill in these big games in the AFC Championship game. I think Josh Allen is very hard to stop in the cold weather, even if it's in Tennessee. I think if Josh Allen gets another crack, I think he wins that game. Plus, 2 drives earlier in the game were 4th and goal, and they had to kick field goals. So if they just convert one of those, they would have won that game. A couple stats based on that is that one thing about the Tennessee Titans, they have the 8th worst pass defense in the league and the 4th worst in the last 3 games. So I don't think they're coming in very hot. They actually just let up a lot of points to the Houston Texans and almost lost that game. So I think the Bills out of the AFC is what's going to happen. So now moving on to the NFC, I have the Bucks over the Eagles for a lot of the same reasons that Jared has, actually not because of the veterans, but when you look at this game, there's a lot of people saying Bucks win this game. Like, let's just move on. Kind of like what I'm doing with the Steelers and Chiefs. I'm not even entertaining anybody that wants to pick the Steelers. But I think people are being, they're overlooking the Eagles a little too much. And the reason is because they actually played earlier this season, and it was in Philadelphia, and the Bucks won 28-22. But the Eagles kept it close, and that was with Godwin. That was with Antonio Brown, and that was with Fournette. Now, Fournette is expected to come back this week, but he's coming off a hamstring injury, which he might not be full strength. And he had 22 carries in that game, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he had 6 catches for 46 yards. So if they don't have that running back, it's going to be tough for Brady. And this Philadelphia Eagles defense is top 10. If Slay stays on Evans only had 2 catches for 26 yards in that first meeting. So if Slay is able to do that again, then it's basically only Gronk or one of the running backs that I think can beat him. And not only that, but the Eagles, after that game, they started to turn into a more of a rushing team. But before that, they didn't really rush the ball that much. And actually, the Eagles, they averaged 8.3 yards per carry against the Bucs in that game. Miles Sanders had 9 carries for 56 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, and Hurts had 10 carries for 44 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So I think if they come with that approach, I think they can win. And a lot of people listening will probably be like, well, the Bucs actually have a really good run defense. So don't you think like the best rush team in the league, the Eagles, are just going to get stopped by the Bucs? I don't think so. They average 5.3 yards per carry against the Bucs. So obviously their scheme works. Miles Sanders is actually able to break off pretty big runs. Not only that, but the Eagles, out of all the teams in the NFL, they lead the league in big plays with 128. And a big play is constituted as a 10-plus yard rush or a 20-plus yard pass. So the Eagles know how to get these big plays. If they just get a couple of big plays, play good defense, I think the Eagles are going to win this game, even though it's away and even though it's Brady. Brady's going to lose to an NFC East team this year. If it's not the Eagles, it'll be the second round against the Cowboys. And then the Cowboys and 49ers, I know a lot of people, this is kind of a close game for people to pick, but I'm with Jared on this one for kind of the same reasons. The Cowboys are going to win this game. They're at home. They're a much better team when they're at home. One stat is that Garoppolo is 7-0 when he does not throw an interception this season. Now, the Cowboys lead the league in takeaways and they lead the league in interceptions. So if they get just one interception, statistically, they're going to win the game. So that I just like the Cowboys. They're too good at home. They really are really good at home. And then the Rams and the Cardinals, and this was probably the hardest game for me to pick out of all the first round games. And I dug deeper into it. One of the reasons I really like what Caleb brought up is that there's going to be a lot of that game's in LA. There's going to be a lot of people around the organization, a lot of fans saying, we got all this firepower. We give up all these picks. We need to win this game. So they're going to, McVay is hearing it in the back of his ear, people being like, you kind of need to win this. And same thing with Stafford. But I do have a couple stats. One thing that's not really a number stat, but DeAndre Hopkins played the first game when the Cardinals and Rams played, and the Cardinals won 34-20. And then the second, in between the two times they played, Hopkins got hurt, and then he came back for the second game, and he only had 5 catches for 50 yards in both the games. But the Rams did have to shade coverage toward him, and Ramsey had to cover him. So now Hopkins isn't there. James Conner's banged up, Chase Edmonds is banged up. I just think I think the Rams are going to come away with this. And another stat that I have here is that the Arizona Cardinals are the 4th most penalized team in the NFL, and in the last 3, the 4th most penalized team in the NFL in the last 3 weeks, and the Rams are the 3rd least penalized team in the NFL for the entire season and in the last 3 weeks. Plus, Matt Stafford leads the league in second half passer rating. So even if the Cardinals get ahead a little bit, I think in the second half, Stafford has the best passer rating of any quarterback in the league in the second half. I think they hold on for the win. And then moving on to the Packers and Eagles, I'm not really going to talk too much about this because the Packers are going to win this game. And then the Cowboys and the Rams, the Cowboys are at home. So getting that 3 seed and being at home for this game is really what's going to be the difference. Same thing that Jared said. I'm not going to say much else other than the Cowboys. They're at home. They're going to win this game. They're going to be able to put this pressure on Stafford. And then in the NFC Championship game, I have the Packers and the Cowboys. And for the same reasons Jared said, the Packers are going to win this game. They're at home. I know Packers at home are too good and the Cowboys away are too bad. So I think it might be pretty close, but the Packers are really good. The Packers are just going to win this game. So then it comes down to the Bills and the Packers in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, Bills, they have the 13th best rush defense in the league. They have the 6th best rush defense in the last 3 weeks, which might be surprising after giving up 5 touchdowns to Jonathan Taylor. They've pretty much got that back. Buffalo, they have the number 1 pass defense in the league, least passing yards allowed for the season, and least amount in the last 3 games. And Josh Allen, he has the 2nd best 4th quarter QBR of any QB in the NFL this season, and he's only 2nd to Matt Stafford. So when it comes down to the 4th quarter, Josh Allen is the 2nd best quarterback in the league. And I think that's what helps them get to the Super Bowl this year. But Green Bay has the best home turnover margin in the NFL this season. And they possibly will get Za'Darius Smith and Jair Alexander back this year. I mean, they have the first round bye, and like Jared said, I mean, not to like boast or anything, but I usually do predict the champion pretty well in things like college basketball last year with Baylor. I told everybody that
No,
Baylor was going to win.
I'm sorry to laugh. I just saw Jonathan's face, and I know, Jonathan, you were thinking, well, what about fantasy football? That's why I laughed randomly for anyone listening.
So, I mean, like Jared said, you have to zoom out. When you want to know the champion, you have to zoom out and be like, what's the storyline? Like, who's the main character of this season? And it's the Green Bay Packers. It's Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Yeah.
with all that story of him leaving, him being on jeopardy, maybe him coming back to the team, him not, him actually coming back, them getting blown out the first game by the Saints, and then them coming all the way back, having a really, really good season. They've been the most consistently good team all season long. I mean, if you guys want to get things right, just pick the Packers to win the Super Bowl, because the Packers will win the Super Bowl. I can almost guarantee that. I would put it's over 90% chance that they're going to win the Super Bowl.
But you can put money on it now.
I will.
And
put money on it.
last year you texted me after the Bucks won, and you were like, "Oh, like good job picking the Bucks. Like I should have known. Like I should have known. Like that was the story. Like you were mad at yourself for not like recognizing that
Right.
that was the story. The whole season last year was like Brady every single week.
Right.
It's the same
It's like-
thing with Rodgers.
That's true. I think
It's like
Rodgers
if
is
you
the main
could-
character of the season, if
Well,
you will.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that statement. He's the main character.
Talked about so
Given that,
much.
yeah, he is talked about. I mean, people were talking about him, leaving Green Bay and stuff. But the bigger story I would say is recently, a lot of people don't like him. Okay, a reporter called him the biggest jerk in the league.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So there's a lot of controversy on his name. So a lot of people want to see him fail.
It
True.
doesn't matter
Yeah.
if it's good or it's bad. People are talking about him, and that's. I mean, you could just see that this team, and although if the Bucks were at full strength, they might be able to beat this team, but with Zadarius Smith possibly coming back, Jair Alexander possibly coming back, Rasul Douglas stepping up, I mean Rashawn Gary stepping up. I mean, you could just tell that this team, they're going to win the whole thing. And the Bills, I think I really like Josh Allen, and I think he's going to have a great career. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to be rooting for the Bills probably, because I like the Bills. We spend a lot of time in Rochester. I have family in Buffalo that are big Bills fans, and I like Josh Allen. He's a great quarterback, but it's the Packers' year, and the Packers will win the Super Bowl.
So,
I mean,
Jonathan, you want to go first? Because I got two things.
yeah, sorry, I'm saying, yeah. Look, the Packers have a great team and everything, but I think you're overhyping them just a bit. Because there's quite a few games this season they could have lost. They could have lost to the Ravens. They won by a point.
No, they couldn't have lost to that.
They could have lost to the Browns. They won by 2 points.
No, that wasn't close.
It was close. And they beat the Rams by 8 points. Okay, that's fine. And the Vikings beat them. So look, there's definitely
Everybody
holes
gets
in the team. There's definitely ways to exploit them. So I think, they could win it, but I think you're overhyping them a bit in terms of telling people, hey, if you pick the Packers, then you're probably gonna. I don't know about that.
Well, I would
That's
say
a bit of a stretch, I think.
I would say I usually, like, I know this is the number one seed, and you're probably thinking, well, that's an easy pick. Like, you'd easily say like the most favored team is going to win, and you'll probably be right. But I think in March Madness, Baylor wasn't the favorite team; it was Gonzaga. And not to bring that up again, but like this year in these playoffs, like it is. I'm just saying it because like it is going to happen. So like you could believe me or not, but like the Packers are going to win. I'm not 100% confident in the Bills. If the Bills don't get there, I think it would be the Titans. But I'm trying to tell you now, the Packers will win. So like I'll just try. Like it's actually more fun, like knowing who the champion is, just to like see their story and be like, wow, they really deserved it. And that was fun for me to see Baylor do it, winning all those games throughout the tournament. So Jared and I know Packers will win, and it'll be fun to see Rodgers win it.
Well, see, and y'all are it's a team game. You're just talking about Rodgers. Defense wins championships. They don't have a defense.
No, their
step up and
defense
make the
is
plays
good.
against
Their
the Cowboys
defense is
offense,
good.
against the who knows who they play, but against the Rams, against whoever, they don't have the defense to stop those players. You need the defense to stop those players. Defense wins championships, not individual talent on offense.
They have a much better defense than the Cowboys. I'll just say that.
Is it Chris?
Yeah, way better.
Tough.
Bro,
let him say that?
if you look at yards against per game, the Packers are way better than the Cowboys.
On defense?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Michael Parsons, how many sacks does he had?
No, it's not about sacks. It's how many points do you give up.
How many turnovers?
No, it's not about turnovers. It's about how many points you give up. At the end of the day, defense is about how many points you give up.
No. Turnovers. You have to look at that. Those are
that is a huge thing. Although you're going up against Rodgers, who rarely turns it over, so something's gonna have to give, right? Either the Cowboys defense doesn't get turnovers, or Rodgers makes one too many mistakes, which is something uncharacteristic. I would give Jonathan that the Cowboys defense is more. I think has more talent overall. Although the Packers defense, I think it's always been one of the chinks in the armor for Eddie Rodgers' Packers team. They've been better than I've seen them in recent memory. So I got to give them that. Like they have Rasul Douglas, you mentioned, John.
Yeah.
It's interesting his story talking about him. I know he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, so he has that Super Bowl winning experience. But then he went a year or two, kind of between different teams, kind of a journeyman, until getting signed from the Cardinals, and then kind of blossoming on the Packers. So Packers have been better than I've seen them in a while, which might give Rodgers enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm not going to say the Packers defense is top 10. I'm just saying it's better than it's been in the last few years. So if it's just a little bit better last year against Brady, they would have went to the Super Bowl. So it just needs to be a little bit better.
Sorry, Jared, I don't mean to cut, but if you look at a lot of the games this season, again, they have been close. Their record is a little bit deceiving. Yes, they were number one seed, but it's not they destroyed teams here.
They are really good.
They went to overtime with Bengals, and they won by 3 points, but they went to overtime. Okay,
bro, you can't even talk. You guys lost to the Broncos. Who loses to the Broncos?
That was just a whiff. I mean, come on.
But the Cowboys or the Packers have none of those weird games.
Yeah, I mean, look, they lost to the Vikings.
That's a divisional team. That's divisional opponent. So it's they know them.
Doesn't matter. The Cowboys beat every single NFC East team this year. I can proudly say that.
But that's easy to predict. That was easy. I knew that.
But sorry, Jared, you can go.
I like that there's both sides. Both of you have.
I'm just saying. You could argue back and forth. All I'm saying, it's not my choice. I'm not saying, oh, I really want the Packers. It's not it's just gonna happen. I already know it is. So I'm just trying to tell you and give you that information. So you can argue with me all you want, but don't argue with me. Don't kill the messenger. I looked into the future and it's gonna happen, and I'm just telling you.
It's like a time traveler coming back to 2021, and they're like, look, the world's gonna end next year, and you're like, what the hell, man?
You're like, but all these scientists say that we're gonna keep going and everything. I don't know. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not. You're just saying it's gonna end next year, and then when you're just
why are you doing? You got to stop this. Why are you doing this to me? Is my reaction. Yeah, it's fair. We talked about the Packers being the most consistently predictable, not predictable in a bad way, but more every game they should win. They should, and they did, except for the New Orleans one, which was a weird, that's the only anomaly. And considering how the Saints
they beat the Bucks that weird game when we were at the Airbnb too.
Yeah,
I mean they lost to the Vikings.
Yeah, they lost to the Vikings, which was a close game, but for the most part, they're the only team that's kind of.
I'll be honest. I would take Cowboys over Packers if the Cowboys were at home.
If
I really would. It
would definitely be a different story
because it's the simple fact that they're away that's why it takes so much out of them, and it favors the Packers so much.
If it was another team, not to interrupt you, Jared, but you want to continue? Sorry, I don't know.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Well, because that's I love that point you point out about their home field thing. Because if this was at another stadium, say the Giants, when we went to the Giants game, there were so many Cowboys fans. I'm sure there's going to be a lot at Lambeau, but because it's Lambeau and not some other team's stadium, Lambeau has such a strong fan base. The team is literally fan owned, which is much different than I think every other team in the NFL. That's going to at least kind of diffuse some of that. If this was at the Giants or the location close to Texas, then I think that would give the Cowboys a little more momentum. They can use.
And guys, I'm not just talking about the Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers. If that happens, great. But I'm just saying in general for the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. In my bracket, I had the Green Bay Packers their first opponent as the Cardinals against the Cardinals. If you remember that they played the Cardinals earlier this season, Cardinals versus Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Packers won by 3 points
Packers
because
Packers
AJ Green didn't turn around
no,
and catch the
no,
ball.
no, no, no.
They would've won.
Packers, you
Cardinals
guys
won.
know, you remember that game because we came on the podcast and we were like, oh, wow, Devontae Adams has COVID. He's out for the game. Who's going to win? And you guys all said Cardinals. And I told you guys, this is what Aaron Rodgers plays for. He wants to be, doubted, and he's going to win this game. Devontae Adams didn't play, and they won. So who cares if it was by 3
Did you
points?
rewatch all the freaking podcasts? Because you're bringing up stuff from
I have
every
I have a good memory. I'm just saying. And Jonathan, remember when you said the Raiders, like if you shut down Darren Waller, like you win? He missed a lot of games and the Raiders made the playoffs. So I'm just saying, without these top guys, without you say, oh, we'll just shut down Devontae Adams. Well, they still beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals were like, I don't even know if they were undefeated or just had one loss at the time. That was a tough game to win, and they won.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll give you that. They did win, but there's been too many close games. Again, guys, y'all have to look at many factors. You can't just look at one thing. Oh, the Packers, they're able to win the close games. No, they got lucky on a lot of games, and they're able to, get the win. But this is playoffs. This is different. Okay, they've had too many close games, and they should be very careful because if they face the Cardinals, I picked the Packers to win out. But believe me, Kyler Murray is not a scrub. He wants to win. He's a winner. He's going to do his best to make the best plays he can to beat the Packers. So I'm not just saying the Cowboys versus the Packers. In general, the Packers should be aware of the playoffs because I don't think they're a dominant team like the Patriots of the past or anything.
No, I agree with that. I don't think they're super dominant, but there's no team in this field that can beat them. That's
what do you guys think of the Packers? Not to keep going because I know we're going on really long. As you normally do. What do you guys think of the Packers? I'm looking at the schedule and what their rush, like the highest rushing for the Packers was in week 5. Jones had 103. No one else had more than 100 throughout the whole season.
Wow.
So do you guys think that? I mean, I didn't even think about this, but do you guys think that's going to be kind of critical in the playoffs?
Definitely.
No, but they split it between Jones and Dillon, so it's not surprising that neither of them got over 100, but they both always combined for over 100.
Okay.
I mean, Dillon, if you have a 3rd and 1, you're not going to stop Dillon. I'm sorry, but you're not going to stop him. So he's the short yardage guy, and then Jones is change of pace and pass catching and everything like that. So it really doesn't worry me, and it's actually good that they have 2 guys. They have one pass catcher and one downhill runner.
Yeah, Caleb, you could bring up a good point. The rushing attack is their weakness on offense for sure. If you look at the Ravens,
their weakness isn't throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Ravens game, I think they rushed over 100 in total, all the running backs together.
That's good, actually. The Ravens have a really good run defense.
I mean, the Ravens have been kind of lackluster these past few weeks, and so they struggled against that team. So I'm just saying, look. I know in deep in your heart you want the Packers to win.
No, I really don't. I'm just like I said, if I was to root for a team, I would want to see the Bills. I like Josh Allen, but I'm just saying the Packers are going to win. So I'm just trying to tell you that now, so that I'm just trying to prep you so that when they win, you're not all that mad.
So since you're bringing up episodes, I'm going to bring up some episodes. The Chiefs, you were so high on them and you predicted it in week 4 that you're like, they're probably going to go back to the Super Bowl. So why them losing to the Bills instead?
Right. I think, great point. I did say they're going to be a 1 or 2 seed and make it back to the Super Bowl probably. I'm changing that now because I thought when we had that podcast, I thought they would get the it factor back more than they have. And I think we could all agree on this, other than Jonathan probably, because he has them going to the Super Bowl. But I think me, you, and Caleb all agree that they just don't have it this year. And I think the Bills, out of all the teams in the AFC, I think they're the team that could go on a streak more than any other team. The Chiefs were doing well, but they play the Bengals and they just get obliterated. How do you let Jamar Chase get on 266 yards? You don't make the adjustments. You still play man coverage. Remember that play, 3rd and 27 late in the game, and Chase goes over Trevarius Ward again? How many times do you want to get beat over your head in a game? That was already the 5th time. So you could just tell they're not the main character in the AFC. And it's either the Titans or the Bills. I could be wrong about the Bills. It could be the Titans, but it's going to be either the Titans or the Bills. So like you could just tell that the Chiefs just don't have it this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you teams with experience that make the playoffs, it's different. Remember the Bucks last season? I didn't think they had the it factor. You know, that was the first time they're all together.
But what about the year before when Garoppolo and Mahomes went to the Super Bowl? Neither of them had been to the Super Bowl or even won a playoff game, and they both went to the Super Bowl. So how do you explain that? Like at some point, you have to break through these molds of like, oh, this is team's more experienced, they're going to win. Like at some point, it gets to the point where like this team is.
It just happens, yeah.
No, the Chiefs. They had lost the Patriots in the AFC Championship, right? So right when Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, so the Bills,
like, all right, and I should
the Bills, but
and
the Bills lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship last year. So now the Bills can
like the Bills again. I've told people I'm serious about this. This is not opinion. They're not there. They're not that team that can make it year after year. They got lucky last season.
Wait, so Jonathan, you're saying the Bills have really no chance to get to the Super Bowl?
They're definitely. I promise you, they're not going to make the Super Bowl. I mean, guys. I think you're like there's a little bias in there from you guys. They don't have what it takes. They don't have what it takes.
They do have the same seed as the Cowboys. So the fact that the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl is kind of the same as saying the Bills will go to the Super Bowl.
They have the same chance. They're ranked the same.
They're ranked the same.
They're ranked the same. Yeah. To go back to the Chiefs thing. Oh yeah, you're saying?
Yeah, no, go back to the Chiefs. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say you talked about like you asked John about the change. You know, we talked about how bad that statistically terrible that defenses was, and now it's improved. But they added Chris Jones, which like opened up a lot for that defense. But adding one guy that makes he's a great player, but adding one guy that statistically makes such a difference to your defense shows that the defense, I think, will be a problem. You know, I think that's why. Like they have improved, they've gotten him back, but the fact that they're contending is part that, but also because they have so much talent and experience. But like, they just don't. They're paying. This is not enough defensive talent, I don't think, overall.
Yeah, I mean they were able to move Jones to end when there were a couple people out too.
And they brought him
in, and then they brought somebody in. I think they brought Melvin Ingram in, and they were able to move him to the inside. Where he belongs, and then it started like the pieces started to fill in,
which is great, and it gives them a chance. But before that, even up in the first couple games, they had terrible, like literally 32nd and everything for a while.
I think people are going to be surprised with how you guys are underestimating Josh Allen, and Caleb and Jared, you guys actually. Well, yeah, you guys have him going to the Super Bowl. So I guess I'm just saying, Jonathan, like
you guys.
I'm not going to take anyone who thinks the Patriots are going to beat the Bills.
Jonathan, like I think you're underestimating Josh Allen. Like he can throw the ball. And okay, this is why I think that the
we are running on 2 hours.
I know.
Wrap it up just a little bit.
Devin Singletary has come on in these last few weeks. He's been a great runner, taking a little bit of pressure off of Allen. But when it comes down to it, Josh Allen puts up fights at the end of games. Like I said, second best QBR in the fourth quarter. He could throw the ball. He could run the ball himself.
Yep. Hey, I agree with that. Josh Allen's a great talent. I know he's really good. But I think one thing if you take away his rushing attack or his rushing ability, Josh Allen, from your scramble, if you take that away, then he's done. That's it. Like he leans on that anytime he's in trouble. Look at his games. Anytime he's in trouble, he's going to try to rush it. Stop that. The defense they need to get ready. Have one guy spy on him the whole game. Yeah. Don't make him do that.
They don't treat him like a guy like Kyler, but they should.
They probably should. Same with Daniel
But
Jones.
anyways, Jared, sorry. I know we've been going over, but maybe we should. I don't know how we should compete against each other with these brackets.
Well, I think how it usually works, isn't it? Like all the first round games are worth 1 point. All the second round games are worth 2 points. All the championship games are worth 3, and then the Super Bowl is worth 4 points.
Sure. I mean, we'll do.
Jared's just like, I want to end this podcast.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, we can do that. I don't care.
All right. I can't. There's gonna be some good football to watch.
Yeah. Wait. I just want really quick, John. Just because I had this question because you had said that Burrow had the worst game of his career against the Raiders.
Worst game of his season.
season that year, or that against the Raiders. It was like only, what was it? What was the passer rating? Like,
I don't know what the rating was, but Pro Football Focus said he got the lowest rating out of any other game this season.
so they still put up 32. They still won, and I believe I looked it up and I can't remember it now, but I think Mixon had like over 100 something yards. So this is kind of the reason I like the Bengals. So I thought it would be in their favor because Burrow doesn't have to carry the whole team. He's got like a star running back.
But
the Raiders,
like I said, the Raiders' rush defense is the second best in the league in the last 3 weeks.
So if Burrow doesn't play well, then the rush defense for the Raiders is going to stop the run, and then they're screwed.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Burrow's going to have about the same game, probably a little bit better.
It's maybe a good argument for Jared.
It's gonna happen where Chase or Higgins catches a deep, like a 30+ yard pass, maybe for a touchdown. It just will, because they'll take those shots. But if they keep mixing to 80 yards and a touchdown instead of 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, Raiders win this game.
But like based off of recency, the Raiders have it's interesting how we think, because it's the same stat and you both interpreted it very differently. But I like both arguments really well, like a lot. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely, I mean,
they're both good arguments, legit.
In a season where there's been so many upsets, the NFL wants closer games. Anything can happen. I mean, I could be completely wrong about that. All I know is Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. That's the only thing I could say confidently.
All right.
We gotta close this. Oh my gosh, I gotta wake up in 5 hours.
All right, so a little over 2 hours, not too shabby. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched this whole thing up until this point, you better go on to Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating, go on the Apple Podcast, do the 5-star rating, leave a comment, and we'll shout you out on the podcast. Leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube. Go over to the TikTok and the Instagram at Dorn Debate Podcast and throw us a follow over there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week after the first playoff games have been played. It'll be a good one. See you guys next week.